Hello, welcome back to Something New. This is Sharon here. Um, it wouldn't be fair today if I picked up the phone and didn't make a video again. So I just would, me, what I would like to say that in this life, there's choices. There's many choices for people to make, right? You can choose what is your demise. So if you wake up every day and you call in your demise, you will get your demise, right? So I see a lot of people, calling things on themselves. Like, oh, I'm getting old now. I can barely walk. I can, all this kind of stuff. And then by two is two, they look and they can barely walk. You know what I mean? You it's a choice in this life. You know what I mean? And in my case, even though the demons were working overtime and always, it's it 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 you can say, okay, well, it could have phased me, or it did. Yes, no lie. It put me in a phase of knowing, and it alerts me to many things that I wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have really thought about in a way that I am now, right? But in this life is a choice. Like, think about it. This world is a world of consequences. Why put yourself in the bad way when there's a choice, right? Sometimes you have to suffer. Sometimes you go through stuff, Sometimes you don't have milk, or sometimes you don't have, the rent, and it's not easy, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. It's not easy, right? And then on top of all of that, there's demons, right? Working overtime sometimes. I'm not telling you in every situation where you're coming up on roadblocks that this is a demon, but sometimes it is, and which they call, like I say all the time, they call it spiritual attacks, but it's not a spiritual attack when somebody is literally coming into your home and drugging you and removing you and do things with you, and you know what I mean? So it's not really, not all the time, but there's times where such is the case. And then when it is the case, you'll find signs, or in my case, it was totally overwhelming, but it's overwhelming to them. You understand? Because someone can only dream up what can hurt them. They think it's going to hurt you what they do, but really they're like, if I do that, oh, that's really going to mess them up. That's really, really going to make them, screw them up this time, or this is really, but because in their mind and their small perception and their little tiny, tiny, tiny particle of the universe that lives in their mind, they think up these dreadful things that will hurt them, and then they apply it to you, right? And then when they apply it to you, they sit back and they wait. They think it's supposed to hurt you, but really they're hurting their own selves, right? Because things that they think of that would hurt them is stuff that I wouldn't even think of to do to another person, right? So you could see the mental makeup of these people, right? And to the detriment of not going to get away with it regardless. They can say, oh, you can pretend like you're winning and you're not, and this and this and this. Then me, I'm not even fighting nobody. They do what they want. You do what you, everybody has free will and free choice, right? There's no way, right, that me, I will pursue anything false, right? So therefore, regardless of whatever the narcissist puts out there or puts online or whatever, because it seems like they have free range, they can just get on there and do whatever they would like to people and get away with it, right? So this is what has been occurring for years, and it's all choice. It's free will, it's free choice. You know what I mean? Hurt the public or care for the public. This is their choice. And even and then it even goes down, it starts going down to in a smaller scale as you go down. So it's like hurt the public, hurt your family, hurt the people that's employed by you, hurt the, you know what I mean, as being the one that's above, to inflict sorrow on the other one in order to keep them in a phase or to keep them down, right? And then thinking that this now makes them smart, right? If they don't give you the information so you can work with that information and they keep it for themselves, this is what makes them figure, oh, I'm smart. Oh, I know this and I know that and I know that. But that's not the way life is, right? And these people will learn the hard way. You know what I mean? And the thing is, you don't want them to be judged harshly because you're not a wicked person, right? But they will learn when they have to lose that, which is in their hands, right? And when that happens, then they will learn. You understand? Regardless of wherever it goes. But when they lose what is in their hand, especially if they obtained it falsely, right? When they lose it, they will understand, right? So therefore, everybody that's on the right side of that fence, stay on that right side of the fence. Even if you look over and get tempted at sometimes, you have to look and see beyond that to repercussions and consequences, and karma is there on the other side. So when you look, you can see what has been happening, what has happened, and therefore make better choices, right? So that's my word of the day. It may be a stretch a little bit, but life is this whole choice. You know what I mean? And even with myself, I make some poor choices at sometimes. I would like to do things, and then I'm thinking, well, if I do this, I can maybe help enhance that to get there where I want to go in life, right? And then I make mistakes too, right? So I'm not saying, oh, I know everything and I know this and that. But the mistakes that I want to make still keeps me on this side of the fence. And I may look over sometimes and then I see consequences, karma, and condemnation. And so I turn my head back to this side of the fence and I live here. And gradually, it will work out for me. I'm not a bad person, so therefore everything will work out for me in the long run. I've just gotten a little stuck. Anyways, take care. Have a good day. Bye.